There's a moment in one of those late-night scrolling sessions where you catch yourself listening to Post Malone and thinking, this dude is messy, vulnerable, raw, and yet he's selling out arenas, dropping rosé, launching fashion lines. How does a guy who bleeds on tracks about regret and heartbreak also become one of the most commercially optimized artists alive? Let's walk through that contradiction together. The man who wears his emotions on his sleeve, but whose authenticity is engineered. We'll bring in the ideas of Jean-Paul Sartre, authenticity versus performance, Theodore W. Adorno, the culture industry, and a bit of contemporary psychology, branding sadness in the attention economy. Full disclosure, I'm no academic. I'm just curious, and I suspect you are too. The sad boy, the superstar picture, the early postie, face tattoos, lanky Texas drawl, White Iverson making waves. He projects a certain messiness, but also a magnetic appeal. The appeal of the wounded, the open-hearted. He sang about the good times and the bad ones, about mistakes and regrets, and somehow people felt seen. That feeling of being seen is the clincher. In a world full of slick perfection, he seemed human, unpolished. In one interview, he said plainly, "I just am myself, and I just want to go and rock and roll." We like that. We like it when someone drops the guard. Authenticity versus self-performance. Now Sartre's idea of authenticity. He said that to be authentic means owning your choices, owning your facticity, your past, your body, your context, not hiding behind what society expects. But here's the curveball. In the era of social media and streaming, the authentic self becomes a performance, which means an authentic brand is itself designed. Post Malone's brand is built on vulnerability. Yeah, I fucked up. Imperfection. I'm gonna cry on this track. And emotional chaos. But this emotion doesn't exist outside strategy. His label, his team, the marketing, these know exactly what they're doing. He admitted as much. He struggles to make something natural on TikTok. He says, "On social media, I feel like I'm acting." He's vulnerable about being vulnerable. That's wild. So the very authenticity we admire becomes a choice, a curated choice. Branding sadness in the attention economy. Let's zoom out. In a world where attention is currency, sadness works. The genre of heartbreak, of emotional openness, has become one of the most clickable. Why? Because it resonates. It disrupts the happy feed. It flips the script. It says, look, your life sucks sometimes. Mine does too. Adorno warned about the culture industry, how emotions get commodified, packaged, sold. Here, Post Malone fits neatly. He sells tracks about drinking too much, messing up, feeling low, but then he sells beer partnerships, clothing lines, rosé wine. It's a paradox. The more he shows real feeling, the more he becomes a product. His brand sells authenticity, and he sells that brand hard. The convergence of real and engineered. Let's talk specific. Posty doesn't hide the fact he's commercial. His agency, every time we do a brand deal with Post, we build Posty Fest into it. Because Post has so much love in the brand space. His brand partnerships, beer, clothing, rosé, don't feel like afterthoughts. They feel like chapters in the story. He said in one interview, "I don't know. I write songs and I sing them the best I can. And I just am myself. I just take what I like and mix it in a way that is authentic to me. But see that I take what I like. There's agency. There's strategy. The story he's telling. Messy guy, real emotions, yet also business savvy. There's a dialectic at work. Authenticity as performance. The goddess of sadness? Not literally a goddess, but hear me out. Just like the classical archetypes of Jung, sadness, vulnerability, brokenness play roles in our collective psyche. Post Malone embodies the wounded hero or fallen idol. He's the guy who can't keep it together but still commands attention. When vulnerability becomes strategy. That may sound cynical, and maybe it is, but it doesn't diminish the impact because Post's songs do hit. They do connect. The paradox is, he's not a victim of the system, he's mastered it. He's mastered the look of vulnerability. Tattoos, facial hair, messy hair, tattoos of barbed wire, snakes on suits, collaborations with Western fashion brands. all of it crafts an aesthetic of imperfection. The mess is the message. When people say, "Oh, he's just being himself," they're partly right. Why we buy it? Because we buy the real story. We buy the comeback, the fall, the recovery. We buy the idea that someone successful still feels pain. We see our pain in his. We see the possibility of redemption. We also buy the craft. Because he is good. He writes hooks. He blends genres, hip-hop, rock, country, in ways that feel playful but earned. He's not just wallowing. He's creating. His transitions into country or rock or whatever, they may confuse some, but they also show a guy unwilling to be pinned down. So the engine runs like this. Emotional rawness plus commercial muscle equals the myth of the real artist with real pain. The ethics of it. Here's where the nuance lies. Do we feel manipulated? Should we? If an artist sells sadness the way a brand sells shampoo, is that bad? Maybe not. But it's worth asking. If authenticity is the badge of honor in the music world, and this world values realness more than ever, then manufactured authenticity becomes the new authenticity, which means we run the risk of hyper-realness that hides the machinery behind it. When we listen to Post Malone, are we just consuming a story of a guy in pain, or are we buying into a carefully designed story of pain that sells? Bringing it home, what it says to us. Look, you and I are not billion-dollar artists, probably, but we still live in the same economy of attention, self-branding, vulnerability as value. Here are 3 takeaways. 1. Vulnerability is powerful, but not passive. If you're feeling down, messy, unsure, fine, but it doesn't mean you lose agency. Post Malone shows us. You feel the pain, yes, but you also do something with it. You write the song, you step on stage, you sign the deal. 2. Authenticity is not just being raw, it's coherence. When Post switched genres, launched brands, dropped albums, he didn't abandon his core. He leaned into his identity. Guy from Texas, beer drinker, tattoo guy who loves guitar. His brand felt consistent. Even the mess had shape. A quick story? I'll tell you about a friend of mine. Let's call her Nina. Nina started posting on social media about her anxiety, her breakdowns, those nights where she cried alone. And she got attention. Lots of it. But after a while, she felt like she had to be that sad girl who posts late at night. She didn't feel free to just be. She then reverted. She posted holidays, family dinners, normal stuff. And people said, "Oh, what's wrong? You seemed so real when you were sad." My point? There's a binary expectation. Sadness authentic equals gold. Normal life equals boring. Post Malone plays the binary, but then flips it. He does normal life and sadness. He does mainstream and underground. He does mess and success. Why this matters? Here's the truth. Post Malone's story is ours. It's not just about a musician. It's about how we navigate between real feeling and brand identity, between vulnerability and performance, between the chaos inside and the persona outside. He's not just an artist. He's a mirror. It shows us how authenticity is being packaged. It shows us how sadness can be a commodity. It shows us how the myth of the broken star still sells. But it also shows the flip side, that you can embrace your flaws, that you can public face your mess, that you can make something out of it. And you don't have to hide the fact you're also business savvy. You don't have to choose between being honest and being successful. So next time you listen to him, when you hear the vulnerability, the heartbreak, check yourself. Are you listening because you feel connected or because you bought into the brand of real pain? Either way, you're valid. You're human. If you enjoyed this dive into the paradox of authenticity, if you found yourself squirming at the idea of sadness as marketing, hit subscribe and let's keep peeling back the layers of the stars and our own stories together.